record. So I'll record this and we'll put it on our the Higher Power Sports YouTube page as well. So if you don't see it on Facebook tonight, or if you want to go back and rewatch it, or you don't have Facebook, or somebody that you know doesn't have Facebook, tell them to go to our YouTube channel, Higher Power Sports, and check it out as well. Monday, crazy Monday. Obviously, a lot of COVID still going on, so we are separated again. I'm in the office attic. I see Mick is back in his living room, it looks like, and we'll get to our guest in a minute here. But you know, just happy to be with everybody. Got some tomorrow. I have Mitch Reed, who's he's an administrator up at Florence, and also is an author and does a podcast as well. And so if you haven't heard about Mick Reed before, it'd be an interesting conversation that I'll have with him tomorrow on this show on Facebook Live. So tune in for that. Again, our sponsor, Riverview Insurance. We thank Tom and his team over there at Riverview Insurance for being our weekly sponsor here on Time Out with Higher Power Sports, Mondays with Mick. And before we get to our guest, Mick, I just noticed while I was speaking, we brought this up 2 weeks ago.
Oh, yeah. I like it.
Man, is that white? I don't know what's going on with that. What do you think, Mick?
Well, I'm all thumbs up on it. It looks good to me. It'd be a lot better than if I tried to do the same thing, although I could match you with the gray part of it. But otherwise, I say full speed ahead here. You're doing the right thing.
It's only a couple more weeks, you know. So, I mean, it is very irritating. I'll tell you that. It's very irritating. But, you know, I'm going to go with it, I guess. You know, it saves me, you know, a few minutes a day, you know, so I can get more work done, all that stuff. So excited. Mick, what are you working on at the old Sanford over there?
Let's see here. There's a couple of things we're putting together today. I was working on a story of a woman who's manages kind of a nursing crew in East Grand Forks, in a clinic in East Grand Forks. And it was really funny. She's got a kind of a basketball background, at least through high school, and was like captain of the team when she was a senior in a little town in North Dakota. And just a real cool human being who has been tested like all the other healthcare people with the pandemic, and talked a little bit about leadership, what she's learned about leadership, and how this has added stress, and she's had to, you know, maybe learn a few things and grow, I guess, as a person, as a leader, and very proud of her staff and what they've been able to do up there during this terrible period for healthcare providers.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll look forward to when that story is finished. Remind us again where we can find the stories that you write about.
Sanford Health News. It's kind of like the Sanford newspaper to the world. It serves as a kind of an in-house thing on I guess a limited level, but mostly it's for everyone, and it kind of highlights what people are doing, and certainly what during the pandemic, what everybody should be doing as they deal with this in their own way.
Awesome. Look forward to seeing those stories and more stories from you, Mick. Let's get to our guest here, Mick. Mick, you and I have known this guy for a long time, and we're excited to have him on the show today. And we're excited because obviously he's a friend of ours, and he's a wealth of knowledge on a lot of different topics. But, you know, let's start right with Steve. You won an award. First of all, before we get to the award, Steve Mayer, welcome.
Thank you, Tim. Glad to be here.
Why don't you, I see you're in your office and it says South Dakota there. Where in South Dakota are you at?
I'm at the University of South Dakota, Wellness Center Director on the campus of the University of South Dakota. I've been working on the campus since 1991, so that's a long time. And just really enjoy what I do here, working with students and faculty staff and trying to provide all their wellness needs and all those different things, different programming that we do.
And again, before we get to your award, let's go back to, okay, so you've been there since 1991 as an employee, but you got before that, right? And where were you before that even?
Well, was a resident of Mitchell, South Dakota during my youth days, and really enjoyed growing up as a colonel. Came to the University of South Dakota. Took me 5 years to graduate as an undergrad. Back then, that was not uncommon. So, worked a little bit here on campus as an intramural official, and kind of got into that realm. Worked a lot in the dome. Did a lot of things in the dome, and then was fortunate to get a job right out of college as the intramural coordinator, and did that for about 7 years. Then I had the opportunity to be the campus recreation director and the intramural coordinator at the same time, as they eliminated a position and they combined two. And I did that till 2010, when we opened the Wellness Center in January of 2011. I became the Wellness Center director and pretty much in charge of this whole building. So that's kind of that's the backbone.
Awesome. And you mentioned, starting out as a college student and, getting into refereeing some intramural stuff, and you've been refereeing for a while now, and you just received an award, a very special award. I think it's pretty awesome. Can you explain what the award was that you received? It was on Saturday night or Friday.
Thursday night.
Thursday night.
Thursday night. Yeah, I was fortunate enough to win or be honored as the high school football official of the year from the state of South Dakota. So each state has one of those. And I was fortunate enough to be the honoree this year.
That's awesome. Congratulations on that. Obviously, what a huge honor, because, that's one of, and you got it. That's pretty special. Talk about your start in officiating. You mentioned, doing some intramural games, but, maybe talk about, did you go right into the high school level, or did you work your way up through, JV and junior high and things like that?
Yeah, I didn't do any officiating in high school. That was completely off my radar in high school. Now it seems like you try to get some high school kids involved in some varsity and some youth stuff. But back then, that was off my radar, doing any kind of officiating at all. So when I came here to USD, I enjoy sports, of course. And I thought that would be a great job. Told my parents, I'm going to get a job as an official. I'm going to officiate sports. Sounded like a really cool idea, make some money, hopefully enjoy it, spend a lot of time in the dome. That was a cool building to be in at the time on campus in 1986. So did a lot of intramural games, and slowly you get your name out there. You work with the high school, you work with some youth groups, and there wasn't a lot of youth tournaments back then. But yeah, doing some 7th and 8th grade games, and not only just basketball, or not only just football, but basketball, baseball, just kind of working, and did a lot of softball in the summer. Softball, slow pitch softball was huge back then. I worked a ton of slow pitch softball, adult leagues, youth fast pitch. So as I went along and went towards graduation, you're just trying to pick up any kind of odd jobs. Again, you're in school, so the money was pretty good when you can officiate youth games and high school games. The money's pretty good. They need officials, and they'll pay you accordingly. So, when I got to graduation, then as I got a full-time job, started thinking about maybe I'll work on my way up, do some other things. So in 1993, I started by the coaxing of good friend Brian Lemon to join their crew, which he had been reffing for a year or two. And it was basically a crew based out of Yankton to do football. And back then it was only 4 guys. So it was a 4-man crew, and they needed a 4th guy. And I said, okay, I'll do it. So that kind of started at 28 years ago in 1993, reffing high school football.
So, 28 years and a lot of games, 8 to 10 to 12 high school football games a year. And then, you throw in the, the basketball games that you've done. There's got to be a lot of memories of those, games, memories of some really good games that you've been a part of refereeing, and some not so good games that you've been a part of refereeing, and some stories in between. But any stories that stick out, about some really good games or anything that's happened over that 28 years?
Well, it took me 11 years even to get to a championship game. So I tell people out there, don't think that you're going to start reffing in 3 or 4 years and end up in the dome and working this past weekend. It doesn't work like that. You got to pay your dues, and it took me 11 years. And like I said, I joined a crew, and then that crew kind of dissolved, and I kind of started my own crew with some of the guys that were on that crew. And then we kind of moved along, and I started my own crew, and that was in 1999 is when I started my own crew as the White Hat. And I pretty much did the White Hat ever since. We were fortunate enough in 2004 to get our first state championship game. That was the Kimball Coyotes at the time versus Selby area. It was a 9B championship game that started at 10 a.m. in the morning. And, it was obviously that memory is big time for me because it was my first state championship game. I was with a crew of guys that really loved officiating, and we just had a great time with it. And that's what officiating is about. It's not only about the games itself, it's about the camaraderie. It's about the trip to the game, the after the game road trip home. I mean, those kind of things. And then you're out there serving the students, athlete, and so that game in 2004, a great memory of being in the dome with the lights and the bright lights and the television cameras, and was fortunate enough to work another one. It took me another 9 years to get my next one in 2013. That was Madison and West Central, and the great Kent Mueller coaching for West Central, and Max Hodgen coaching for Madison. Just a terrific game. Probably one of the best games that we ever reffed. In this memory of, if we have West Central fans out there, they'll remember late in the game that Coach Mueller ran a little a halfback pass where the running back threw a fly pattern to the wide receiver going down the sideline, and he caught it, and the put West Central ahead with about 1:50 to go in the game. And Max, Hodgen, and Madison had a lot of weapons, and they tried to come back in that last 1:50 and did not succeed. That was probably one of the best games we ever did. Obviously, it's at the highest level. It's 11A, championship game in the dome. So, and then it only took me 5 years to get back for my third one, which was in 2018. We had T in Del Rapids in that game. So
that's awesome. Congratulations on all those championship games, because I know that's a, obviously for the kids in the communities. We talked about this yesterday or last week, Mick, how big of all the excitement, but that is also for the officials, what a honor, and the excitement and everything that goes around along with that. Mick, what do you got for us here?
Well, one thing that I'd like to hear from Maze here is a little bit about what people don't understand about just officiating and being a part of the deal. And you mentioned it a little bit with just being part of the sport and how you're contributing and it's a fun thing. And I don't think, number one, that a lot of people who watch these things would ever want to do it themselves. And they sure as heck don't think that that you're out there having fun. I go back to, I was involved in sports before I came here. but I didn't really understand any of that dynamic. And once I got here and I was around for a while, I got to know a lot of officials and became good friends with a lot of them. And then I really kind of understood there is a dynamic here. There is a reason that you're out there doing it, but it goes through the kids and it goes through the coaches. You're not adversaries in these situations. Okay, you talk a little bit about that, about your relationship with players and with coaches, specifically with when a game's going on and the conversations that you have during a game. How do you do that?
Yeah, I think you're right, Mick. Behind the scenes, it's there's a lot of work we put in. You're just going to doing different region meetings and watching things online that we have to watch, taking tests, being held accountable, watching videos weekly, being evaluated by an experienced evaluator, getting evaluations from coaches after the game. They can log on to the website, a South Dakota High School website, and evaluate you right after on the spot. So we get comments and we get rated. And so those are some of the things that go on like behind the scenes. And then, when you're out there, that's why I love high school football, is it takes you back to maybe your high school days again. And you're out there with the players and with the coaches and the cheerleaders and the band and the PA guy and all the camaraderie that's going on out there. It's there's nothing like it. Football is great that way. And it only happens, for 9, 10, 11, 12 weeks a year. If you get far enough, every Friday, you're locked into doing these games. And boy, I've come across some great coaches, and like I just mentioned a couple of them, but great coaches around Southeast South Dakota where I primarily worked. And you get to, when you see these coaches, it almost brings a smile to your face when you see them on game day. And sometimes they're happy to see you if you have great rapport with them. And sometimes they're maybe not as happy to see you, but I think we do a pretty good job. We work hard at it. The guys on my crew in the past and currently have a passion for reffing high school football. We don't do it for the money. We do it to give back to the sport that we love. And it's great to see players. I mean, some of the times when I was in the Dome and I had some connections with the Coyote football staff, like Jim Glogowski is a former USD linebacker and USD football coach who now coaches at Mankato State. And he would always tell me, if you see a guy on Friday night, I want to know about him. I want to know about him. And they wanted to know about him, and they wanted to get a perspective from an official. I told them about numerous guys that I thought could play at USD. So along the way, but those are some great stories and connections that you can make with the athletes. And you see these athletes and they go on to play, every once in a while you get to see an athlete that plays at the highest level. I ref Jared Reiner when he was playing tight end. So, and then he went on to play at Iowa in the NBA. So, and it's stuff like that.
That's good stuff. You mentioned your crew, and kind of the change of the crew, when you took over the white hat. For those people that don't know, first of all, what is a white hat? And then, how do you guys go about getting a crew together?
Well, first of all, white hat is the referee. If you watch high school or college or professional football, that's the guy you're going to see most of the time on the screen. He's going to be the guy talking in the microphone, talking about the penalties and whatnot. Like I said, when I started, it was a 4-man crew, and now South Dakota's gone to 5-man. Everybody's at 5-man across the country now for high school. When you get to college, it's 7. In the NFL, it's 8. So you got more eyes, same number of players on the field. And that's why the NFL has 8, because those athletes are special. We can handle 5 guys is plenty for a high school football game. But like I said, when I got put on a crew, I just got put into the opening that was there, and that was the line judge position at the time. And you study it, you work it, you try to familiarize yourself with as much as you can, and you go out and do the best job you can. Obviously, I was a green official in '99 when I started my own crew. I knew I had to be the white hat, because the white hat that was on my old crew was done, and I was going to be the white hat, and this is something a challenge that I thought I was ready for. And, you know, I had some benefits of having some young officials that were in our intramural program that were ready to jump onto the scene. And I had some other guys, some friends of mine that I knew that had been reffing. So we kind of just cobbled together something in '99, and it kind of just took off from there. And you know, I've worked with a lot of great guys along the way, and you know, my current crew is mostly guys from the Vermilion, Yankton, and we got one guy from Sioux Falls in our crew. But you know, we went the longest time, Tim, with 5 guys, and those 5 guys worked every Friday night about, and we never needed a sub or nothing. Of course, we didn't have kids in high school and in middle school and things going on. Now, my crew consists of 8 guys. I would say primarily 7 of them, 6 or 7 that want to work, and an 8th guy that is there, and he will work a few games. But you've got to have that many guys now. And then this year with COVID, we had a couple of our guys actually with contact tracing weren't able to work. And so you need 7 or 8 guys anymore to make it happen. Unfortunately, I think there's a lot of crews that are in the same boat. They need, you need a minimum of at least 6 with all the things that are going on. But
Mick? So when you talk about your crew and how it's evolved over the years, you know, you mentioned the road trips afterwards, you know, getting in the car and going home. You know, after a tough game, do you replay the game on the way home, or do you just wipe it out? You know, you say, oh, that coach was a jerk. You know, what's kind of that ride home like?
Well, we usually plan it to be fun, whether we're going to get something to eat afterwards or we get something to eat beforehand. That's always important. Get some nutrition in you. And then, yeah, on the road trip home, if it was a close game and we had some exciting or close controversial calls, we're going to talk about them. And hopefully we got them right. But yeah, we discuss the plays, and sometimes we'll even contact the coach of the home team and say, can you send me the game film? Because I want to see it. If there was a lot of crazy plays or things I'd like to watch. And
then when you go back and you'll watch some of those films, you know, I've coached for a lot of years, so I've watched a lot of film. And here, my take on, usually on if there's a close play or a controversial play or something, and the coach is really upset, he's usually probably wrong. If the ref is upset, he's usually probably wrong. It's just, when you go back and watch, whoever thought they were right at that point is usually the one that was really, you know, but there's got to be a lot of plays that you've seen that, you know, and sometimes on film also, it's like, I still don't know, you know.
Oh yeah, because the camera angles at the high school level usually aren't very good, and you've maybe 1 or 2 cameras, and you're not going to see a lot. So if you want to try to see that hold by 69 on the inside draw, you're not going to see it. But sometimes you get a shot in space, pass interference, those kind of things you can sometimes see. But, you know, with the advent of social media, Tim, you know, we did a couple of games this year that were really tight and really close games. And we're going home and the video is on Twitter. You know, someone was there from one of the media outlets and they've posted it. Now, whether they had a great view of it, in neither case they did. But it gave you another angle that you wouldn't get from the game film. It gives you immediate perspective. Someone standing in the end zone in both these cases this year. So we're able to watch it on the way home on our phone.
Yeah, and sometimes that, you know, those clips on social media and things like that, you know, they don't tell the whole story either. You know, say it's a play that the guy steps out of bounds and, you know, well, they might say, well, he stepped out of bounds. Well, maybe there was a hold back that, you know, that was going to be called anyway, but you get everybody up in arms because you got that, you know, that one toe out of bounds or something like that. So it's interesting for me to see that, social media come into play as well. Again, I've coached for a lot of years and seen a lot of different things, but a lot of times that doesn't tell the whole story. As you go forward, the official of the year, what does that mean to you?
Well, it means I've been in it a long time. It was what it means. It is a humbling honor for sure to be awarded this award. And I thank John Krogstrand, not only on the phone when he called me, but when I saw him this weekend in the Dome. I thanked him for the award, because I'm sure that there's lots of good candidates out there, and they only can award one per year. And I'm sure they have a list of candidates that they would like to award. So, it's a humbling honor. And I think it shows that it's not just me, it's our crew. If I was out there with four guys that didn't have a care for football and didn't know the rules, we would be a terrible crew, and I probably would have quit a long time ago. It takes all five of your guys to do it. And, without them, this award would not be possible. So I was happy that some of them could be there in the Dome on Thursday night to share that with me. Others watched on TV, etc. So, just going back to replay real quick, Tim, with watching film, the South Dakota High School Activity Association last year was able to add replay to the championship games. They were in Brookings last year. And then in the Dome this year, I was fortunate enough to work 3 games as a replay official this year. And, the whole replay system only overturned 2 calls the entire weekend. That just shows that our officials are out there. There's a lot of good crews in South Dakota, and the crews that showed up worked their butt off. And like I said, we only overturned 2 calls. Obviously we don't have all the angles that the NFL or the NCAA has in a game that you might watch on TV, 10, 12, 15 cameras probably. We had 4 or 5. And, some of those weren't in the greatest position sometimes. So again, it is high school football, but we were using South Dakota Public Television's feed, and they were giving us the best shots they could. And, but in a lot of cases, the play just stood, and we didn't need to overturn it. So kudos to everybody that worked this past weekend.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting. When you talk about the replay, I watched most of the games, and you said there were some angles where you just, as a replay official, you probably just couldn't see it. Like you said earlier, well, I can't tell if 69's holding or 72's holding, but and some of those, especially on the goal line, when you only have one angle, I mean, it's tough enough in the NFL when they've got all that technology and 10, 12, 14 camera angles and 5 guys in the booth, and I don't even know how many officials they got, like 9 or 10 officials out there. And then you're relying on and I'm basically a high school kid with a camera, and you only got 3 or 4 of them out there. And so it's difficult to see some of that. But like you said, the biggest thing was getting it right. And then it shows how good those officials are that we only had to overturn 2 of them.
No, it was a great weekend for football. Great games were played. And the replay tool is great. I mean, I'm glad they have it. And I don't think every state has adopted it. They should. Because these are the championship games. You want to make sure you get the egregious, obvious mistakes wrong. And that's what we were told as replay officials this week. We're not gonna go out and take a guy's 5-yard out pattern at the 49-yard line, and maybe he didn't get that 1 foot in. We're not even gonna really look at it. It's not gonna be important enough. But all turnovers and all scoring plays, all potential turnovers, all potential scoring plays, we were going to look at those. And then in the last 2 minutes, we were going to really get in each half. We were really going to dive into a lot of the things you see on Saturdays and Sundays. And we would have overturned some calls or changed some things if we had to. in those last 2 minutes that might be a little bit less, but would have been game changing as far as the clock goes.
Awesome. Mick, I've been talking a lot here. You got anything?
Hey. Well, I'm sure Maze, what do you do when it's obvious that a coach has lost his mind? I mean, what are the things that, because the coach doesn't understand it, but a lot of times at that point, you're the best friend that guy has, because you're going to do everything you can to keep him from digging a deeper hole for himself. But how do you go about that?
Yeah, obviously you learn over the course of time things to say to the coach and things not to say to the coach. You try to smooth it over with him. First of all, I hope we bring a good rapport when we walk in the stadium that night. He probably already knows who the officials are. He's asked his AD who's the officiating crew that's coming tonight, so he has an idea. We work a lot of the same venues and a lot of the same coaches every year. But, we have some tools. Our sideline officials, of course, we'll be talking to them a lot. We have the sideline warning. For some things that get out of hand, we give them a sideline warning, and there's no penalty for that. The next time it happens, it could be a 5-yard penalty. So not super egregious. When you're dealing with someone that really is hot-headed and will not shut up, then you have to get their attention with a 15-yard unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. And, of course, over the years, I've thrown a few of those, and, it does get their attention. And when they lose 15 yards because of their actions, they're a little bit more subdued after that. So Mick, it's a fine line, talking to them. You got to come out during the coaches. We meet with each coach before the game. In that 30 minutes that we're on the field before, we have a coaches conference. We go over what we're gonna do. I give him a chance to answer some questions that I have, and then I give them a chance to tell me about any special plays they're going to run tonight. Are you going to run any trick plays? Are there any formations you want us to look for? Is there anything the opponent does that you saw on film that you want us to look for? And lots of times they'll tell us a little bit here and there, different things that might be happening, either on their side or the opponent's side. So you give them an opportunity and really building rapport with a coach. And, over the course of the years, coaches like Kent Mueller and Max Hodgen and guys like that have been around a long time, typically they're happy to see you show up because they know that we'll do a good job. We're going to work hard for them. Yes, we might make a mistake because we are human, but we're going to work hard. We're going to give it 100% effort while we're there. And I think that's really all they really want. They want you to know the rules and work hard.
Absolutely. And I think, from the coaching side of it, I think that's all coaches ask for too. And I think what a lot of people don't understand is that relationship between a coach and a referee, not only during the game, but like you said, I've become friends with a lot of referees over the years that, maybe had some heated exchanges on the sideline, but, you mentioned after the games going out and having a burger with your crew. And, there's been multiple times where I've run into an officiating crew after a game that was either doing a game that I was coaching or another game. And that camaraderie between coaches and officials, the people in the stands, they don't see that, but that's got to be pretty, you mentioned Coach Mueller and those coaches, but after, doing this for 28 years, you got to have some friends that have coached and you've made some pretty good friends on that side of it too, I'm imagining.
Yeah, there's obviously friends that I have better coaching. And you can really get a sense of how the coach operates with their players, on how their sideline is maintained, what's the decorum on the sideline for that particular game. I tell friends of mine that when I get done reffing, and I'm talking to people that aren't refs, I'll tell them about, certain teams, and that guy's completely lost his sideline and, they're doing a terrible job. And that happens and you got the opposite too. You got guys that are completely in charge of their sideline. There's no back talking by the players. No assistant coaches are talking. It's them and it's you. And that's the way it's supposed to be. In the rules, you're only supposed to listen to the head coach. And those sidelines are dictated by the coaches, and the ones that have respect and have garnered respect from their players, those sidelines are really nice to officiate.
That's good stuff. What, let's talk about, you said you started off, let's put it this way. How do you get assigned a game? I go to a football game and I see Steve Mayer's crew working, they're working a game against Parkston. We're at Bon Home and your crew's there. Well, Bon Home wanted you guys there. So, you're going to call it for Bon Home, right? That's how.
Well, that's not exactly how it works, but, until about 10 years ago, the ADs had a call tree of all the referees, white hats, the crew chief, whatever you want to call them. And the schedule would get released by the state at, like, say 9 a.m. on a March day. And you would need to be by your phone. And, some of the craziest stories is sitting in my office in the Dome and answering my cell phone, answering my office phone, and putting coaches on, yep, just a second. And you're writing down games and you're taking games. And it was a free for all. It was the craziest system ever. People go, what? Really? That happened? Yeah. I mean, you're trying to lock in games, and it was usually a 2-year deal. So you're locking in games for, let's say, 98 and then 99. They want you to come to your place both, So at that time, it was more ADs calling people that they knew, at least early in the morning. I need to get this crew here. They've got to do this big game. We got Canton and Lennox, and Jeff Kyman's calling me because he's the athletic director at Canton, and he wants this game. And I want him on this game. And so it became a free for all. And that wasn't really the greatest way to get officials necessarily, but that's the way they did it. And then 10 years ago, they made a change for the best. And these evaluations and the state getting with their region coordinators and figuring out what crews need to be assigned each game. So now the state assigns us to all of our games, which is a way better system.
Yeah. And so now you get assigned, say you get assigned to go to Centerville and Wakanda, Irene Wakanda, a nine-man. And then the next week you go to West Central and Del Rapids. Do you ref differently because it's a small town versus, this probably going to be on TV for a few highlights if you're at West Central Del Rapids? How does that work? How does that play into your crew?
It really doesn't play into it. I mean, besides a few rules differences between 9-man and 11-man, it really is, you're going out there and officiating the game. Half the games in the state every Friday night are going to be 9-man games, and the other half are going to be 11-man. So you're going to need to know the variances of each. Of course, the atmosphere is different if you're in Irene Wakanda compared to if you're at Sioux Falls Christian or you're at Harrisburg. It's, of course, the games are different from the athletic standpoint because there's so many more athletes to choose from. But really, you're going out and officiating for the student athlete, and that's it.
That's good. Mick, what do you got for us?
I don't know, man. I could talk about officiating, basketball and football officiating all night. It's a fascinating topic to me. And part of it's just fascinating because I don't think people quite understand it, the dynamic there. And I kind of mentioned this before, but the challenges involved and how we, you don't see it. You don't see that a referee is telling kids things, warning kids once in a while, saying, look, dude, that's not going to work. The next time I'm going to call it, and just trying to facilitate a decent, a competitive game. It's not just you're looking out there and you're throwing a flag when you see a penalty. There's way more to it than that. And becoming a good official, I think, is something that the people up close, the coaches, and probably to a much lesser extent the players, but they understand. They see it up close, and it's like you can't explain it exactly, but when you see it, that these are people who are confident and conscientious and understand that you know, that these are human beings. The coaches are human. The players are human, and that they do what they can to facilitate this game. And the other thing that is fun about it to me is that most officials like good games. And boy, if it was me, if you had to put me out there, I'd go, I want 70-0. I want this thing over before I screw something up. And the people, the good officials, they like good games. They look at them like a fan would or a sports writer would. And it's like, okay, great. We got a good one tonight. This should be fun. And that attitude that you guys bring to your challenges here, I think it's a really cool part of sports. It's probably underplayed a little bit.
Yeah, you're right, Mick. It's there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes, preparing your crew, doing all the things you have to do that the state asks you to do, and then putting together a crew has become, as I stated earlier, a challenge because people have so many things going on, and COVID and kids' activities, and so putting together a crew that you can be proud of every week becomes a challenge in that respect. So a lot of things that happen. There is a dedication, of course, to it, and you have to really like what you're doing to make it even more fun. We try to make it as fun as possible because it is fun, and we would rather have 30-28 than 55-0 and the game's over halftime.
Yeah, but it also takes a special person and a dedicated person to give that team that's getting beat 55-0 the same effort you give in a state championship game, because those kids, you know, whether they're not as talented or, you know, they've got some injuries, whatever, are still out there giving it their all in front of their parents and their family and their friends. So, you know, that takes, you know, maybe that, I don't know if everybody can do that, but the good officials do that.
No, for sure. You're right. And I've had 3 state championship games, probably had 12 to 15, 10 to 12 semifinal games, and a load of quarterfinals and first round games. And those are obviously high level games. But I've had just as many 50-0. The game ends early as I've had all the playoff games combined. We've had just as many. We're leaving early. The game's over. So.
Yep. I want to touch base on this real quick. We lost, you know, we're talking officiating, and we lost, you know, a great official, a great mentor to officials, and, you know, just a really good guy, a guy that I've known for way more years than I can even remember. Buck Timmons passed away. And so we're obviously thinking about him and his family, but he was one of those guys, and I don't know how much interaction you had with him, Steve, but he was at a game every night. First of all, as an official, he was out officiating all the time. But then once he retired from that, he was at a game mentoring officials every night. And, you know, what a special guy he was, and what a, you know, testament to him that the officiating in South Dakota is so good because of guys like him.
Absolutely. You said it. Buck Timmons is a guy that I respected, a guy that mentored me. He, you know, in the end here, he was the, you know, he did a lot of the assigning for the officials. He got us, he elevated our crew as we went along. He was very proud of, just for our crew. He was very proud of our crew, especially after the 2018 championship game. You know, he was had a lot of accolades for us, and he goes, "We need to get you guys doing more AA and some AAA games." And I said, you know, whatever, Buck, we'll do whatever you guys assign us. But you know, he did videos for us. He came to region meetings. He evaluated crews. Like you said, every Friday night he was out evaluating a crew. This year he was at Bridgewater Emory Ethan game that we did against Redfield. He was there. You know, he he was a huge advocate for officials, and a big loss for the South Dakota High School Activity Association for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we give our condolences to all his family, his wife, and his kids, and all those young officials that he mentored, and really, you know, became huge friends. I mean, Buck was one of those guys, you'd walk in somewhere and Buck knew it. Everybody knew Buck, and Buck knew everybody. Again, one of those guys that he only needed one name, Buck, you know, and so we're going to miss him for sure. He taught school here in Parkston for a lot of years, and was a track coach here in Parkston as well. And so we're going to definitely miss him around for sure. So, you know, Steve, we talked a lot about officiating, and we're running out of time here, but we're going to have you back on. And, you know, Mick and I have both spent a lot of time around USD athletics and through different avenues. And, you know, I want to ask you one quick thing about USD, and that's the dome. You know, we got to see on TV the, you know, kind of the finished product, so to speak, of the, you know, the remodeling. What, you know, firsthand experience, you know, what's it look like? Is it as good as it looks on TV?
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. President Gestring and athletic director David Herbster have done a fabulous job of renovating that dome. Seeing it firsthand, I was able to go to a coyote scrimmage a few weeks ago, the pseudo spring game for USD football. I was in there for that, and then I was obviously in there a ton this weekend. And it is, when you put lower level luxury boxes and suites and loges that are 10, 12 feet above the playing surface, and they basically go from end zone to end zone, and then you put brand new seating up above that, it is spectacular. Brand new sound system in there that sounded awesome. The lights are all now brand new. They don't hum and buzz. Very bright. Had to be great for the TV crew to work on under those lighting conditions for sure. Yeah, just everything about the new concourse on the other side, the new entrances. You can come in now on 4 entrances of the dome, 2 sides on the east and 2 on the west. The new concourse, the more concession stands, more bathrooms, everything ideal.
Then one more question about a building, then Mick, I'll turn it back over to you for a few questions to wrap up. The wellness center, you know, you mentioned, you know, that's your baby, right? And, you know, maybe talk about that building, because that's pretty impressive as well. And then, you know, I know you got some employees that, you know, might be a little shady over there, but, you know, we appreciate you get through the first semester of college.
Absolutely. Well, we're really proud of our facility here. Almost 10 years old now. We'll be in January. And the things we've even done in the 10 years it's been open is spectacular. But, you know, we have the highest climbing wall in the state. It's 39 feet. That's a very big attraction for college students. We have obviously tons of cardio and weights and basketball courts. Our group fitness classes are really good. We have a great intramural program. We have a great student staff. So, you know, all in all, it's a great building for USD students to, you know, the Munster University Center is the union where they eat and study and attached to the library. But the Wellness Center is a place where they can go and get away from their studies and be social with their friends and get involved in a lot of different programming. And it's a very exciting building on campus. It's got a lot of glass. You can see it from a long ways away. So exciting building. And I really like my job here.
Awesome. Mick, what do you got for us?
Just to vouch for the climbing wall. A lot of times when I'd be over there writing story after story, and I'd need a little time out, and I'd head straight for the climbing wall. It was nice of Mace to be able to let me attack that. Getting up there, you know, 39 feet, I was challenged by that, and, you know, I wish it was 45. I'll tell you the truth.
Well, we're thinking about lifting the roof and expanding it someday. So
okay,
I'll let you know.
Up to speed on that.
I'll let you know when that happens.
Okay.
Quick, you know, we're going to have you back, and we're going to talk a lot a USD, you know a lot of the USD history, follow the sporting events, closely, and know a lot of the players and coaches over the years, and we'll have you back for that. But you mentioned the Dome and how nice it is, and it was bringing back memories of when I coached there, and when it used to rain in there because the snow would be melting and it would get too hot up top, so it would rain in the Dome. It was the old roof. And then also when we'd go in there and practice during the farm show, the court was up on the west end, and we'd be in a haze of diesel fuel because they'd be driving the tractors and the trucks in and out of the Dome, and all that was rising. I mean, I can't believe we survived that.
I'm surprised we did. That was crazy. Those were crazy times with that roof. A lot of things happening with that roof, Tim. That takes an entire show itself just to talk about those things that happened with that. The old Teflon roof and the old upstairs court during the farm show with the diesel fumes. That should be a book. I probably could get Sanford involved in that, Mick, with the health issues that might have taken place.
I'll run it by a couple guys tomorrow, or women. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anything before we wrap up here, Mick?
No, I'm good.
Did you go back to Austin this weekend?
No, I ended up not going back. My dad wasn't feeling well. He got tested. Thank goodness he's okay. He was negative on the test, and so he's back in action here.
Well, good. Like I said, tomorrow I'll have Mitch Reed on the program. Steve, congratulations again on your award. Well deserved. Talked to several officials and coaches throughout the weekend and today, and said that I was going to have you on, and they said there's nobody more deserving that gives the whole thing. You represent the whole thing at the highest level, and your knowledge, you're prepared, and you really care about what you're doing out there. So congratulations again. And we appreciate your time, and have a great Thanksgiving coming up here, Mace.
All right. Thanks for the kind words, Tim.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate that.
Great seeing you, Mace.
Good to see you, Mick.
All right, Mick. So we'll be back next week, and we may have a guest. We don't know. Or maybe just Mick and I talking about my white beard. We'll see how long it gets. I don't know. Maybe I might try some Just for Men or something in that, just to change it up. It looks I look old, man.
Well, with that level of commitment, there's privileges, but there's also obligations. It sounds like that's an obligation.
Absolutely. All right. Take care. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks everybody for watching.